welcome to your Raider show on RTV, and have a lot of good things to talk about, especially 9-2. You can say what you want to, but that's all that matters. Al Davis, just win, baby.
Just win, baby.
That's all it takes. So I'm gonna let you start off. Are we gonna hit the offense first? We gonna hit the defense first? Well, we better hit the defense last.
We got to talk about the defense last. A little soft in the middle, but we'll get there. But the Raiders offense, they played actually pretty well the first half. It was two sides of two different halves. In the first half, the Raiders came out explosively. I noticed that Derek Carr was 9 for 10 for 116 yards on the first two drives. And he was going exclusively to people that aren't normally his primary receivers. You would expect for it to be Crabtree and Cooper, but Seth Roberts stepped up big.
And Walford.
Yep. So those were two people that actually had great games for the Raiders. The offensive line continued to play well. Carr, who's been unscathed most of the season, he actually was sacked once. But one stat that I heard this week, John, that I was very impressed with is that Donald Penn, the starting left tackle, is the only tackle in the NFL who has not given up a sack.
Wow.
That's huge. That's protecting that blind side. So you know how important that is, because Carr can't see who's coming, but I doubt if he'd have to worry about it because he's got Donald Penn, part of that car insurance that we talked about earlier on in the season.
Well, you know, I agree with you to a point. The offense played well, as we talked about before. The number one thing for me with the Raider team is consistency. I said that from the very first show we had to now. And again, I get so frustrated with Musgrave and what he does. We get a 10-point lead. We're up 17-7, and then we had 3 consecutive 3-and-outs. And you know, that will come back, as I talked about. That's like they say, playing with fool's gold. And we're winning. I love it. It's great. But when we come into a situation where we have to be consistent, you can't get in the playoffs. You can't go to Denver. You can't go to Kansas City and have 3-and-outs. I mean, that's going to cost us a victory. And that's a shame, because let the guys do what they do. I mean, we you know, it took me a while to really think about this team, that especially after Carr got hurt. What are we going to do? First of all, we need to get a backup quarterback that can play. We'll get to that in a minute when we get in a minute. But,
okay.
But because Matt McGloin, first of all, he hadn't played in a year. Did you hear? Well, you were at the game.
Yes, sir.
The TV stats, he hadn't played in 365 days.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you got to look at data and look at it from different angles. That means that Derek Carr has been healthy for 365 days,
yeah, which
is a good thing for Raider fans.
But this is my whole point, though. We have won games that he could have played.
Definitely.
And see, these are little things that I'm talking about. When we win a game, and I mean, we haven't had really blowout games, but we've had games where he could have come in the fourth quarter and played a couple of series or a series before the game ended. Those are the kind of things I'm talking about. You got to have people prepared and ready. But the biggest problem that I saw was the fact that we had 2 runs, and they how many yards did we have on Sunday?
We were under 100 yards rushing Sunday. And
but we have the 3-headed monster. If they let them do it, mixed in with the short, you know, the little swing passes, all those type of things, just get them the ball. I don't care if it. See, a lot of people get misunderstood about rushing yards. But if you throw a guy a swing pass coming out, he's 3 steps out the backfield, you throw, that's a run to me.
That's just as good as a run.
Exactly. So those yards are not counted in the rush, and they really should be. But my whole point is mix it up. But up the middle, throw a pass, incomplete, 3-and-out.
Well,
3 times.
One of the reasons why the Raiders go up the middle is because on the left side of their offensive line, they're probably featuring 2 Pro Bowlers. Again, the aforementioned Donald Penn and Kelechi Osamele on the left side. You know, they've said during the Denver football game that the Raiders only ran 2 plays, and they seen that they were effective, and they stayed with those 2 plays the whole game. So, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I think the Raiders, you know, this is the first game that I thought, sitting there in the stands, that this would actually be a full game, that the Raiders were going to show up for a full game. They were going to play the entire time. But unfortunately, it just did not happen. 17 points on one side of the coin is enough. If you average that over the course of the game, you're looking at 34 points a game. But, you know, like you, John, I expect for them to score every time they get an opportunity to score.
Well, at least get to the point where we move the ball consistently, other than those 3, and then when Carr hurt his finger. But other than those series, we moved the ball consistently. Well, he threw for 300 yards.
Yeah, well, Carr
even with the situation he had.
Yeah, he finished strong because Carr finishes strong. He has the most touchdowns in the fourth quarter than any player in the NFL right now. And he finished with 26 for 38 for 315 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. So, I mean, when you look at his overall numbers, he rounded out playing well. Again, he was sharp. I remember telling my neighbor at the game, it's like, hey, I don't remember him throwing an incompletion. And when I watched the game earlier this morning, I had a chance to go back and recap it. He was actually 9 for 10, so he did start out on fire.
Yeah, and that's the whole point I'm trying to get at when I talk about you start out the way you did. You never let a guy cool off. I mean, and that's just, I'll give you an example. You're a shooter. You can shoot the ball. Well, I'm saying that, right? So you playing, I'm your point guard, you the 2 guard, and you killing, and I'm hitting, and you burning them, right? Like Steph, and then all of a sudden, I pass the ball to Keith.
Right. You got to
go. And then I keep passing the ball to Keith.
You got to go to the
That's what I'm saying. Until he cools, you know what they say, a heat check. You know, same thing in this thing. When Carr is on, let him do what he does best.
That's
you know,
funny
and at this point right now, he's the best passer in the game.
Absolutely.
They can say what they want about Brady, all the rest of them, but actual pure. I mean, I'm watching, and I didn't even think about it until you mentioned a couple of shows ago. But I mean, he has the knack to put the ball in holes that small.
Very tight windows.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, this kid, you know, 3rd year in the league, are you serious? But you can't have him do that and then say, okay, we're going to back off now. We got a 10-point lead. Let's run the ball up the middle, and let's try to get in 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. That's what I didn't like.
Yeah. So I think in terms of, unless he's checking down at the line of scrimmage, I think that maybe that's something that we should probably address at Musgrave, because perhaps he's calling plays like he did at the end of the Houston game where we went for it on 1st and 5. We took 3 throws, and everybody said, well, how come you're not trying to run the ball? So maybe some of the play calling is suspect, but to me, in terms of play calling, it all comes down to execution, because the Raiders have shown over the course of this year that they can beat you both ways. Me, I'm old school like you. I prefer pounded. I like to see them get pounded, make those safeties cheat up, and then hit them with the deep ball.
Okay.
Every time we get the ball and it's like first down around the 45, 50-yard line, I'm thinking go deep. I grew up in the LaMonica era.
I want to go back to that. We get defense, but I want to go back to that, but we got to take a break. Take us out.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll be right back with more of Your Raider Show here on our TV in a minute.
Because, see, that goes right back to the point I was saying. Attack.
Deception.
David Carr, or Derek Carr, hurt his hand.
Finger. Jeez, it's a Carolina recovery. Couldn't quite decipher at first glance what was going on there as Carr immediately started running away and toward the sideline.
Yep. Oh, his right hand. You can see the watch his right hand.
Boy, immediately.
He dislocated, I think, I hate to speculate, but it looked like his right ring finger was dislocated.
Welcome back to Your Raider Show on RTV. We're going to get back to that point because we're talking about Carr when you had made the comment that he was 9 for 10.
9 for 10.
Then you go in 3 series where the first 2 plays of all 3 series was a run up the middle. One, we were at 3rd and 10. I think the next 2, we were 3rd and 8 and 3rd and 6. But you put him in a situation where everybody in the world knows he's going to pass on 3rd and 6. You said when you do it, first down pass or second down, they're not expecting it as much. But on 3rd and long, you got to throw the ball.
Right.
And I didn't see a screen. I mean, in those situations, if you mix it up, I can live with it.
Yeah, because the screen was very effective early when he went to Latavius Murray on the cross-direction screen.
But that comes back to Musgrave and the thing. We're going to get off of that, but we got to talk about the pinky finger now.
Got to talk about the $20 million pinky.
It's a $20 million, but I tell you what, it was like probably cost him 20 cents that day because he screamed like a baby. I know I've done mine. That's what I'm saying. I've done mine. I know guys have done theirs. But you got to, first of all, and this is just my opinion, you got to go get the ball. I don't care unless you dying, unless you are dead, unless somebody shot you from stands, you dead. Get on the ball, then scream, do whatever you want to do and get off the field. But don't give up the possession. And that changed the whole momentum of the game for a whole quarter.
It sure did, because Carolina retaliated with 18 straight points in the third quarter, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, boy, we about to put them away. I can't wait till the second half because we're a second-half team. And once Carr got hurt at 14 minutes and 51 seconds of the first half, the very first play from center, he's up under snap, and you can see as the replay shows that his finger just made a L. It just completely made an L. And I'm sure the sight of that, I've been through situations where I've seen things that my body has done, and it's like, wow. So I know he kind of freaked out, and you're right. He should have thought about the ball first, but all he was thinking about is getting that pinky back in socket. You know, actually, I heard his brother comment on the NFL show the next day that he actually dislocated in two places. Yeah. He dislocated his knuckle and his finger. So fortunately, with two dislocations and no break, they were able to put it back in. He was able to put a, you know, it's the first time I've seen him actually use a glove. I thought it was going to affect his touch, but true to form, he hit Walford right down the seam as soon as he got back. Threw a bonehead pick, his only pick of the day, his next pass. I'm like, oh boy.
Well, if you look at that play, especially on the, you were there, but on the replay, and they showed it a couple of 2 or 3 times, he was so focused, and I'm trying to remember who it was that, oh, it's crap. No, it was Cooper.
Right.
Cooper was sitting in the slot.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he broke across the middle, and he stopped. And when he stopped, but he didn't see
Davis, the all-pro linebacker.
Right.
Yeah, he was just waiting in the cut.
But he was out of his sight.
Right.
He was to the side, but he froze when Cooper froze.
Right.
And as soon as he just broke right in front of him.
Absolutely.
Because he was scouting him. He was scouting his eyes where he was going. And that he very rarely does that. So I mean, hell, he still leads the league in touchdowns to interceptions.
22
so
and 5.
He gonna have some. So I can't complain about it. But let's go to the defense. They bent.
They bent, but they didn't break. But it was another dominant performance by Khalil Mack.
Man.
Khalil Mack, after 2009, done by Charles Woodson, put it up for Big C Wood, right? He's the only man to get a sack, a fumble, a pick, and a pick six in one game. And that's phenomenal. So, you know, he pretty much had the trifecta. You know, if you would, you know, it would be great if it was playing baseball. He would have got, that's what they call it, right?
The cycle.
The cycle. He completed the cycle for a defensive end. A great athletic play.
He's talking about
the trifecta. I'm a bet man sometimes. But what I'm trying to say is this man was able to accomplish something.
Well, those are very rare feats.
You took the word right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Very rare. So he had another dominant performance. The defense was soft up the middle. They let Jonathan Howard, who had not Jonathan Stewart, who had not had over 50 yards rushing the entire season. Yeah, totally. He got 47 on one play. Yeah. Right up the guts. I'm like, come on now. We got to be able to stay disciplined and stay in our gaps.
That's right. We can't over-pursue.
And that's exactly what the Raiders do sometimes. And they get caught on misdirections doing that because they're pursuing to the ball, and sometimes all it takes is that one fake, and the lanes are open the other way.
That's what it was. And his guy's been in the league, I think 9 or 10 years. He showed some speed to get down there because it took him a minute to catch him.
Definitely. So, but the part of the defense to me is that there's a more concern is not our front seven, and we feel like that's going to be bolstered by Aldon Smith if the commissioner ever make up his mind. I don't know what he's waiting for.
We got to talk about that all because we can't spend too much time on it, but I don't get it.
Yeah, he did his 365 days.
Yep. And they said that they were meeting on it. Well, how? I mean, are you going to take a couple of weeks to meet? I mean, what are you going to meet on? He did everything he's supposed to do. He should be eligible to play. What's the problem?
Exactly. So back to the defense in terms of Aldon, that would be a big bolster for us because down the stretch, we want him. I mean, he could get right in midseason form by the time the playoffs roll around.
I think he is. But let me tell you another guy that I really like is Autry.
Oh, definitely.
Man, he comes up. He has more batted balls.
He's got 4 this year already.
Yeah, and every time you turn around, the ball, Autry. So, I mean, we have so many good defensive players.
The front seven.
Yeah, and if they're rotating them in a way that everybody stays fresh, I'm just concerned about our defensive back. I'm not a 21 from Kansas City, Smith.
Interception was right in his hands in the first quarter. I don't know how.
First of all, Kansas City's a defensive team. Let's face it.
Sure.
Why would you let him go?
Exactly.
You didn't even try to match what the Raiders gave him.
And I think Reggie was gambling on the same thing he gambled on the year before, which paid huge dividends with David Amerson, because we picked him up from Washington. Why would Washington let him go? First round pick, right? So the Raiders,
he's hurt. That hurt us as well.
Absolutely. So with that, and DJ Hayden actually didn't have a bad game. He played a better game than the week before in Houston. But, you know, I heard something interesting today that got my juices really flowing, really flowing. So with the secondary having problems, you know, there is somebody that wore number 24 that still looks like in pretty good shape that we could see there. That's how I felt. When I heard, I said, yeah, bring C. Wood back for the playoff run. Now, what do you think about that?
Hey, whatever it takes to win. Just win, baby.
There's no doubt he could step right in his uniform and be an impact right away. The Coliseum will be going crazy
and you know what,
if C. Wood comes back right now.
But you know what's funny? If you ever watch him on the Game of the Week when he does it.
He always say we.
Yes. And when he's describing stuff, you know, the other guys, they just kind of stand and they leave it. He's like going through the motions. He's like, you know, this is the way you know, and I'm like, man, he still wants to play.
That's what I was thinking. He's itching. So could you imagine if at this point right now, we know we're getting Alden back, we know we're getting Mario back, if we brought C. Wood in the fold, because now is the time down the stretch of the final stretch of the season, the playoffs are pretty much secure. What we need to do is figure out how to strengthen the weak link on our team. So right now, if we went and pulled C. Wood back into a Raider uniform, would that be phenomenal?
Hey, what do you say? We're 9-2, right? So give him $1 million for 4 games.
Come on.
And the playoffs.
That's C. Wood. That's C. Wood.
Come on, he'll take $1 million for that.
Come on. The only defensive player ever to win a Heisman Trophy.
Hey,
he was so raw in college. They gave him the Heisman from a defensive standpoint. That's C. Wood.
Well, we totally agree on that.
NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Well, you know what?
NFL Comeback Player of the Year.
You ought to send him one of them paper airplanes.
Hey, you know, I don't know, man.
I bet you nobody thought about it but you.
The ascot might bring him back. What you think?
Take a picture on the set and say, C. Wood, we need you back for the playoffs.
Come on, man. All right, we'll be right back with more of your Raiders show here on our TV. I feel you.
Oh! We got it. You feeling great. Another win.
92, baby.
Way to finish, hey. Hey, it's always, this is the NFL, man. Tough. That's a team with the heart of a champion, right? That's a really good football team, all right? They battled tough, all right? We rallied when we had to. Okay, that shows you how fine a line it is in this league, man. How fine a line. But I am so doggone proud of you guys, man. Way to go, Raiders! All right, got to get right back into another good week of preparation for Buffalo. Everybody good? Yes, sir. All right, let's break it up, man. Here we go, number 4.
Let's get it, man. Family on 3. 1, 2, 3.
How much more special is it that one, especially when, you know, Derek had to come out with the injury and he comes back in and leads you guys to victory?
It's being tough. On a tough team, tough players. Fight through adversity. Coming out to win. We ain't blinked not one time. One of the best O-lines I've ever been a part of. Been around. Offensive line really held it down today.
Big moments, big plays. Take us through your 47-yard get up and get it grab.
By any means, you know, I felt like I've had a couple bad games, and I wasn't finna let this game go by without making no play, you know. So came out here. One thing on my mind is to win every route. Came out with the dub.
It's some style points on that grab. Now that you went up, grabbed it, came down, helmet came off and everything.
I think he ripped my helmet off. Should have been a flag, but we ain't gonna whine about that. Just being tough. Just being tough, man. Whatever it takes, by any means. You know?
Michael, that along that same path, how dangerous is a team that continually just finds ways to win? It's not always pretty, but just continually finds ways to win.
That's a team, and like they said, just win, baby. And we really take that motto seriously. You know, I think we're doing it by any means. Like, you're going to have to guard everybody because we got dogs.
Was this a game that you guys would have won last year, or is it this year's team that's
you know what? We're going to worry about this year. You know, we're not going to worry about the past and what the Raiders been. We're going to worry about today, tomorrow, and this year, you know, what we can do better, you know, try to take it to the next level, you know.
What did Derek show today coming back after that nasty looking finger injury and coming back in?
I mean, week in, week out, he showed heart, you know, determined to win. It rubs off on everybody around him, you know. DC is a competitor, you know. He's going to compete in everything. So I knew he was going to come back in and do what he had to do. And like I said, man, I love that dude, man, and I love my team. We just working every day trying to get better.
I know the season's got a long ways to go, but how important is it to have this first winning season? You guys got 9 wins, first time since 2002.
I think it's important not to count those, you know. I think it's important to worry about the next game, what's in front of you. I don't think it's really important to worry about, you know, what the past, you know what I'm saying? I think you get caught up in that. And, like I've been on a couple winning teams, and like I said, this team right here is special. And I think we need to focus on what's in front of us.
Crab, you have the coming out of the game with the altitude. They were coming up, they were rested. They had like almost like a mini bye week. Lose the lead. Is this just developed into a team that just, there are no excuses, basically?
It's not. Like I said, I think I had a bad game last week. Ended up with 5 yards. That was probably one of my worst games I ever had. And I was determined to come out here and win, you know, today. And my team had my back, and I had theirs. And like I said, man, I just love this team.
What did you think of Max Hams and that interception?
I see Mac catch passes every day in practice. This ain't nothing. You know, he practicing that, you know, catching and throwing the ball. So, I mean, that's a super athlete. And, you know, that didn't surprise me, but it was an amazing play.
What about his black hole lead? Like, that was some good form there, too?
Yeah. I need to get in the end zone so I can see where my black hole lead. Mac's a man. Mac Sack, yeah, that's my dude.
Is this the most fun you've had playing in the NFL?
It is.
Yeah.
I won't even lie to you. It's the most fun I've had. You know, just playing ball. You know, you don't have to worry about nothing but playing ball. So that's a blessing, and I'm thankful for that.
Thank you.
And welcome back to Your Raiders Show on RTV. We've gotten through the offense, the defense, and now, just real quick, special teams played well.
Yeah, special teams.
And you know my boy, my wife is getting to like him because I explained to her the other night, whenever he makes a great kick, he mocks whoever they playing.
Right.
Because, you know, when he did,
right,
but then the other day, he did Cam.
Yeah.
How does he do that? Yeah. He did Cam, and she said, well, wait a minute, what is he? And when I explained to her, she said, oh, I like that. But anyway, the C Wood done got me messed up. You know that, don't you? But let's go back to the Buffalo Bills. And Keith just said, you know, I don't know. Do you think that Shady McCoy means? I do. He's dangerous.
Man.
He's dangerous. And he's not as consistent as he used to be at Philadelphia, but he's still dangerous. This past weekend against the 49ers, I mean, he could pick a game and just do everything. And you said out the backfield, running the ball, it doesn't matter.
Right. He's one of the type of players that you go into the week if you're an offensive coordinator and you try to figure out ways, how can I get this guy the ball in his hands? So I watched his highlights with the producer just yesterday. We were looking at him like, he was killing on the ground. They threw him a little swing pass. He was killing through the air. And it's like, you know, he's the type, if he gets so many touches, he's going to make some impact plays just because he's that great of an athlete. So I think, like the Raiders, what they got to do is that they got to contain the edges. They got to press and pull everything to the middle of the field. That way that they can collapse and, you know, try to put a couple of hats on them. But, you know, there's always one good thing to slow a running back down. That's getting popped a couple of good times, coming up the gut. So if the Raiders do that and they stay on top of it and don't let Tyrod Taylor, you know, he's an up-and-coming quarterback as well.
Well, you know, he's very good. He's a good disguise because he is athletic, and because he runs the ball so well, it allows him to have more time to pass. But I would, personally, I'd take away the edges. We got strength in the middle. Don't allow him to get outside and force him to pass. I'd rather have him passing than running.
Right. I'd rather have him beat us than the aforementioned running back that we're worried about and have to deal with. I don't want to have to deal with him.
Yeah, because when he was at Virginia Tech, he did the same thing in college. And he is still not – he's a good quarterback, don't get me wrong, but he has not mastered the pass to the point where he makes his team more effective. He's very inconsistent with that. I liked him in college, and so I watched him a lot. I was back in the Carolinas then, so I got to see a lot of their games. But again, I think our number one thing is our defense. We can't have a lethargic start or a lethargic part in the game. We have to be consistent for 60 minutes.
Well, there's a lot of things riding on this game. The Raiders are, for the first time since 2002, on a 5-game winning streak. Now, a couple of shows ago, I mentioned to you that I felt like that this could be a trap game for the Raiders.
Oh, absolutely.
The Raiders could very well overlook Buffalo because they got to turn around and play Kansas City in 4 days, which I hate the schedule makers put it to us that way. We got to go to Kansas City, one of the toughest venues to play, and we're going to have to play them 4 days after going through a game against a very physical and reckless Ryan Rand defense that Buffalo brings to the table. Now, Buffalo came to Oakland last year, and we handled pretty much the same personnel that they had last year, this year, minus Sammy Watkins. So he's also a factor, too. So they've got a lot of weapons. So we got to be careful with this game. I don't want the Raiders to get to reading press clips and, start dabbing. I don't know what Marquette dance he's going to do this week because, I don't see anybody doing anything on Lattice in Buffalo. But, the Raiders got to take care of business this game. They can't slack off. They got to do like you said, keep the pedal to the metal, and they got to know, hey, look, we got a good thing. Let's keep this momentum going. But I would rather them lose, I hate to say that, Raider fans, against Buffalo, other than and go and beat Kansas City, because that Kansas City game has so much of an impact, and here's why. The Raiders have 5 games left. 3 of those games are on the road, and 3 of those games are against our own division. We've got San Diego, Kansas City, and Denver, the final game of the season. We're already 2 games up on Denver. We're 9-2, they're 7-4. Denver has to play Kansas City again, and New England, and us. So by us going into Kansas City and getting that victory and being 2 up on both of them, and they still got to face each other, it pretty much assures that one of them are not going to win the division, right? And we don't have to worry about beating Denver because we already beat them, and we're 2 games up. So actually, right now, we're 2.5 up on Denver, just like we're only a half game up on Kansas City.
Exactly.
So if we go into Kansas City and win Thursday night, the Raiders are pretty much assured of winning the AFC West.
Well, I agree with that, but one of the things, the reason that when you said you don't mind if we lose, I don't like losing at all. And where we are with the young players that we have, you don't know how that's going to affect them losing Sunday, playing Thursday. Because you don't have the time, you don't have the full 7 days to prepare for your next opponent. I want them to win, and I think they will beat Buffalo. I really do. But what that does, that gives them a lot of juice going in there.
Absolutely.
Because who does Kansas City play this weekend?
Kansas City, and I feel like Kansas City might lose this week. They have Atlanta, in Atlanta.
Oh.
Matty Ice. So I'm looking at, hey, I need him to do his thing because I want him to knock Kansas City off, and then it won't necessarily matter. But don't get me wrong, I never want to lose. I don't like losing at nothing. Never did. Tiddlywinks, marbles, you call it. I don't like losing nothing. But if I had my druthers and had to pick which game the Raiders had to go
I
off
understand
streak, it would definitely be against Buffalo, which has less impact than losing to Kansas City.
I understand that why you would go there in that regard because of the division. But like I said, I just don't believe that we're going to lose to Buffalo. I know a trap game, and I agree with that. But after the way, if it'd be different, like let's say we'd blown Carolina out, then that would have really been a trap game, looking forward to Kansas City. But because of the things that happened, the occurrences that happened with Derek's hand, and that they ran off 18 straight points, the whole 9 yards, I think that kind of put a little kick in the butt to say, whoa, we can't relax.
One thing that I have to say that I'm very proud and confident of is that what Del Rio has instilled is that we always got to get better. We've always got to get better. That's number one. And number two, that's past us now. We got to keep looking forward. We can't think about what we just did Sunday.
Oh, no, right.
We have to continue to go. We haven't done anything yet. And really, you can't really say they haven't done anything yet now because they are, 9-2, and they're actually in the power rankings. Just about every power rankings, we're like the number 2, number 3 team in the power rankings. At ESPN, NFL, Bleacher Report, we're all up there really high now. So, but the one thing we got to realize is that we really, in the grand scheme of things, haven't done anything yet. And I think he's done a great job of keeping that in their minds.
Well, I know how we can get much better.
Bring in C. Wood.
You don't have to even think about it now.
Yeah.
But in the last minute, let's focus on number one. We hope Derek Carr's. One of the toughest things about those pinky fingers, your adrenaline gets you through that day.
Sure.
But I'm gonna tell you what, I can guarantee you, it was sore as you know what on Monday morning. I guarantee you, because mine throbbed for about 3 days. And you know, I didn't have all the trainers and doctors and stuff they have, so I know they probably gave him whatever they had to give him. But that's the key thing is, and he's got to keep it flexible. Because I mean, it's been 30 years since I did that, and I still can't close my fist.
Right.
And I know numerous people that have it. So
well, if you see, and you've been around a lot of pro athletes in your lifetime, and you know, sometimes you look at athletes' hands and they're mangled.
They broke up.
They're just mangled, right? I mean, that's what happens.
Well, that's a great word to use on the way out of here. So let's
mangle.
Let's
mangle
the Buffalo
Bills. But the thing that I feel good about is that, again, his brother David Carr mentioned that, you know, he was doing well.
He wore a glove today.
And the way that he
did you know that?
Actually, who?
His brother wore a glove.
Oh, did he?
For his brother.
Oh, okay. He didn't wear a Fidel Castro shirt. But,
no. He wore a glove, though.
Okay. Colin Kaepernick. That's my 49er dig of the day. But what I do want to say is this, though. He said the way Derek throws the ball, he puts a lot of pressure on the forefingers and not on the pinky. So it doesn't really affect, and again, the passes that he threw, especially that long bomb to Crabtree on 3rd and 10 from our own 10-yard line, the 64-yard bomb that he completed that Crabtree waited on because he had to wait on a little bit and adjusted to the ball. You know, great pass by Derek Carr. So, and then the back shoulder throw to Walford in the second half.
Now, you know we're not going into another segment.
I know, but I'm getting fired thinking about our quarterback. I'm getting quiet. Let me just go real quickly. What I was saying in the stands was, I'm not worried. When Carolina finally caught us and took the lead, I kept saying this: Derek Carr, MVP. Derek Carr, MVP. Derek Carr, MVP. And as he brought us down the field closer and closer, we got to the 25-yard line. I said, now go to the tight end. Go to the tight end. Go to the tight end. He went to Walford. Walford made the first down. And then I said, go back to the tight end. He went to Walford. Back shoulder in the end zone. Walford was like this. He caught the ball with the tips of his finger.
Well,
security came down. I'm like.
I'm going to make a comment before we get out of here. We're going to get Musgrave's butt out of there and put him in there.
Hey, look. Hey.
He'll call the right plays based on what he's saying.
I've been calling plays at the Coliseum, and then the people in the stands turn around and give me high fives for years. My son always asks me, what we going to do now?
Hey.
And I can tell him.
Hey,
sometimes you can see
Jack,
it by
man.
formation.
Come on, Keith.
You can tell by formation what we in. That's a big tip if you've been watching long enough.
And he don't need to take his job. Just let him sit up in the booth and say, not that one.
Not that one.
Oh yeah, that's the right one. Not that one. That's all you need.
But man, it's a passion.
And they can just give you $500,000.
That's all. just a $250,000. You know, because our TV needs it, right? So, but the thing is that, man, I just enjoy the Raiders and seeing where we came from, going through the struggles. Because I tell you, man, since 2002, these last 14 years, after a Raider game, I got to sleep it off. I don't talk to nobody. I just go to sleep, man, because that's how bad it was. It hurts, right? But now I feel like the chains are removed, man. We free. It's about to go down. It's going down for real.
Hercules unchained.
Emancipation for real. So it's all good, man. And
take us out.
We're just going to keep riding this like we're going to keep riding our show. And we hope you guys are enjoying this because we certainly are. Your Raider Show here on our TV. We're going to be back next week. And, you know, we probably have to cover 2 games next week because now we're getting ready to go up against the, help me out with the
Buffalo
Bills.
City.
And then we come right back with the Kansas City Chiefs. So stay tuned. Go Raiders. Let's do it. Super Bowl. Derek Carr, MVP.